So I ask her, I'm talking to her like, all right, well, what's the last time you had a big emotional experience? And she would say sort of in the, yeah, I was angry because of these reasons, these abstract reasons. And you'd imagine that's the way you go about it. All right, tell me the reasons. And you sit there and you talk about the reasons for a while. And it's like, all right, you're fixed. All right, that's cool. But of course, this whole right brain, left brain thing is, if we want to get into what actually happens when you get angry, we need to think a lot more in terms of understanding the symphony of what goes on. And of course, a symphony is a little story told in a dramatic way through a chunk of time. It's not like the abstract theory, and this might be kind of weird, I know, but it's not like sort of like, oh, I was angry for this reason. That actually doesn't matter as much as you think. It's more to do with the felt experience of what's going on. So we're going to talk about it here. So I get her to walk through how this anger happens, and of course, as all things are happening nowadays, it comes from the phone. So she's sitting there and she's in her normal state of consciousness. You know, the nice rational ego, the Cartesian mind is there floating and thinking about stuff, processing stuff, jabbering on about philosophy, whatever it's doing. And then you're flicking through the phone. She's flicking through the phone. She sees someone she's jealous of and she's angry of. And she gets a jolt of lightning. What? How does that happen? Okay, so she's flicking through this thing and she's in normal consciousness, and then she hits a sort of trigger. And it's weird, when she sees this thing, there's a jolt of lightning out of the sky and it hits the water, the unconscious, if you want, the water underneath it. And then there's this like big shaky, the tide or something like that. The water gets unsettling. And now it's starting to get a little bit scary. There's something wrong. And maybe you can hear this like deep echo down at the very bottom. Something's not good. And so suddenly in the body, in her nervous system, in the unconscious, in the felt world of the ocean, there's now a rumbling going on. She's been jolted, and it's moving around in her body, and she's not quite aware, because what happens is then the philosophical mind starts ticking away, explaining reasons and jabbering onto itself and telling itself all these silly stories. But that's not what's really going on. What's really going on is like the symphony. There's now a big scary low note after happening. And it starts to build up. And of course, as it's building up, it's in control of your body. And so it makes her do stuff. So she gets up and she starts pacing around. She starts pacing around in sort of, frantic thinking mode. And she's trying to figure out what to do. She's trying to, like a mathematical machine, it's trying to coordinate what's going on. What's putting stuff together? What do I do? What's the right action here? But of course, she's fucked, because this tide, this energy is now about to take control. So she is no longer in control. Her rationalizing mind is just jibber jabber. It's like someone who's caught up in a wave. They can talk about what's happening to them all they want, but they won't be able to stop the wave. The wave is what's going on. And then what happens is the dragon bursts up. So she's this person who's triggered her. It eventually swells up into a mood, a rage. It bursts out of the unconscious, out of the nervous system, and swallows up her mind. And it suddenly takes control of her mind. It might take control of her chest or something like that. Have her hunch forward. Her eyes, she can't really pay attention. A couple of minutes ago, she was thinking about philosophy, and right now her thoughts are just racing through the idea of that bitch. What did she do to me? All this type of stuff. And she's trapped, and she's like now possessed like a zombie. She's walking around. She's not even thinking straight. She's not even herself. She's now been taken over by this thing from beneath, by this being from beneath. And what does she find herself doing? She finds herself holding a knife, just like she used to do when she was self-harming a lot more. She's holding the knife because the pattern has been forced her this direction. She's been forced to a ritual for dealing with this problem. She's been forced in that direction. And so this lives inside of her. This it's almost like, and then she calms down, obviously, and puts the knife down, and she relaxes. But it's like, she's lost an hour and a half of her day from this possession. And she's maybe even a bit tired afterwards as well. She got swallowed up by this energy. And so inside of her nervous system, inside of her is this beast. And if the right trigger comes along, it will awaken it, and then this beast won't go away until a ritual is fulfilled. Like I was saying, you see a pretty girl or a handsome boyo, and this beast will awaken inside of you, and it won't quite be satisfied until you either accept that you're not going to have them, or you demand that there is some type of a beautiful ritual of procreation taking place of some sort. And so these monsters live inside of us, and in some sense, Mother Nature has put them there, as I said, for certain reasons of getting you to do stuff, to animate you. But in another sense, they can also get mixed up with some very, very bad energies. And so my job as the exorcist is to try call up that dragon and deal with it. Because a lot of people, when they have these problems, they might have this mood that leads them to a ritualistic behavior such as self-harm, or what can often happen is you will beat yourself up in your own head by these type of moods. So you see something on the phone as usual, and it triggers you, and then you beat yourself up and you think you're a piece of crap and you hate yourself, and then that's your little ritual. It's this self-flagellation inside your own mind. This voice in your head says you're a piece of shit, you're pathetic, you're the worst person ever. And you're beating yourself up in that sense. And there's a variety of ways this stuff can manifest. Fetishes, and addictions, all this type of stuff. And there's decent evidence to show that even depression and all this is a childhood trauma is 3 times more likely to lead to schizophrenia. Or leave someone 3 times more likely to become schizophrenic. All these type of things are wrapped into this idea of these demons, these hauntings. And our question is that, all right, this lives in our nervous system, and it's not how it normally should be. We're carrying something almost worse than usual. How do we get it out? How do we get rid of it? How do we exorcise it? And so this is when you go in and you do the scary thing. As most people, they want to cast magic spells at it. They want to talk about maths. They want to throw jargon at it. Oh, that's a personality disorder. Oh, that's a depression. Oh, that's an anxiety. Oh, that's this, that's that. They want to wrap it up into little boxes that keeps them safe, that puts it far away, because that's what they want. They don't want the dragon to get them, even though it already is. They don't want the dragon to get them because that's scary, because it hurts, because it's a fucking dragon, man. Like, you don't want that to happen. So you try to throw boxes at it, try these magic spells, wrap it up in this grammar, these words and all this, and as much distance from it as you can. Anything to keep you trapped or keep you safe in that Cartesian ego up there that you have, your left brain. But of course, the trick is actually to feel it. To actually let it in and let it into your body and let it take you over. And that's a weird thing to say, isn't it? But you see, it's already happening to you. And if you think about it, it's like emotions are quite simple things. They're energy that is put inside of you. And you are like a closed system. And if this energy can't get out, it's like a pinball machine. It will just fly around and it'll be bouncing everywhere. And it might go into your unconscious, so it's not a problem right now, but it will come back up if triggered. And it will come back up with vengeance. It will sour, as Nietzsche says. These emotions, they twist and they fester into something more pernicious and intense than before. And of course, the master morality, the clean way of dealing with your emotions is to let them out naturally, like an animal, like a lion. Not have any of this mental blocks. But of course, humanity is a complex animal, and we have this ability to hold ourselves back. And this ability to grab an impulse and an emotion and seize it with a firm fist and say, you're not just going to express yourself like that. You're going to hold yourself back. Maybe for the reason of you're being careful because you're like a predator, or maybe because you're afraid like you're a prey. And regardless of what it is, you hold it back and you keep that tension inside your body, and it rolls around like a pinball machine, stuck in your nervous system, stuck in your unconscious, and you need to release it somehow. And the trick is actually to do what it was originally designed to do. Let the energy out. You ritualize it in some sense. And this is a weird idea, but it is actually a very, very logical idea. Energy goes in, energy must come out. Energy can't be destroyed. Your body can't just chew up the energy and get rid of it. It will wound you in order to do that. And this is what stuff like this is. And so the question then becomes about how do you get catharsis? And the trick, and catharsis is literally that ancient Greek word of relief. This is what Aristotle noticed, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. Well, how do you do that? Why do you do that? What causes that to happen? And of course, it's about letting the symphony take over. Oftentimes, you have this distanced understanding of your life, but when you actually wrap up into it, you have this very adult, and you'll look back at your past, at your childhood, and be like, oh, I was so silly back then, or oh, that wasn't that big of a deal now that I look at it, when my parents divorced, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, everybody's parents divorce. And of course that's true. That's very, very rational of you and very, very mature and big brained. But think about it in terms of a drama. We're trying to make a movie, me and you. So I dive back into your childhood, And I throw away this silly left brain rationalizing stuff, and I get locked up in the symphony, you know? So forget about the story that the singer's saying and judging the story for how rational or irrational it is. Let's actually just get caught up in the story, in the drama, and feel like that little kid where mum and dad say that they're never going to be friends again, and then you lose everything now. And that sucks, man. That destroys people, because that's the end of your world. And this puts all the shock inside of you. This is the weirdest stuff ever. Like, dad suddenly leaves. And it's like, wait a second, what do you mean he's gone forever? What do you mean things are never going to be the same? That confuses a kid. And that's like this, that's that shock. You get hit by the scariness of life. And you put it inside yourself, and you don't know what to do because it's so scary. You don't know what to do. You're reacting like the prey animal that we are. Half of us anyway. And you freeze. And you stay frozen for a while. And then you never really let it out properly. And it stays with you forever. And in order for you to let it out, you actually have to ask that to come back up. You have to give it time. You have to play the drama out. You have to be symphonic about it. You have to approach this like an artist. You have to let the dragon scream. And so you exercise it. You scream and you let it out. And you let the energy out. And finally, it gives you that feeling of relief. You go through it again. You take it into consciousness. You just feel it in a right-brained way. And this explains a lot about a various phenomenon. And of course, doing it with, like, for example, someone like this girl and bullying her in this direction, it can be incredibly, she's like, wow, that's really, it's a great weight off my chest. I often hear stuff like that, which is so interesting, you know? And think about, I hear this so much as well when I'm talking to people, I'm trying to get them into the felt experience. So much of this crap is carried in their chests. It's like we store all this stuff, and then when we use that language like weight off your chest, that's the antithesis to that. That's the freedom, you know? You it's like you're putting off a bag. I had a dream once where I had this bag on my back, and I used to store my various angers inside of it. And then that bag really, really started to get heavy, so I gave it to a girl, and she opened it up to look inside of it, and it turned her into a housewife. So there's a lot of perhaps Freudian directions you could go with that, but that's a great example. The anger bag, you know, the anger bag around your back, that's like a weight on your shoulders that's holding you down, that's putting pressure on you. And letting that anger bag out, opening it up and letting it into your body and letting yourself experience it and almost ritualizing it if you want. And letting the memories out. It's like this magic ability to let it exercise out and you get free. The feeling gets free. It's that relief, similar to such sacred things as the orgasm or the ritual of violence. You know, you fight someone, and you hear Conor McGregor talk about this. It's like he relaxes after he fights because there's a massive amount of tension you're after letting go there. And as I said, Mother Nature has made us into monsters where life is going to fill us with this tension. So ideally, you know, we'd float off into the rational world where there is no tension. But that's not like, it's not going to happen anyway anytime soon. So I think you and I should take a serious attitude towards the pragmatic problem, which is how do we help ourselves release the tension? And of course, the approach is to be artistic.